Hey guys, we're playing Scarlet Tower here.
Alright.
What a intro to a First Opinions. Alright, so what kind of game is this?
So this is Vampire Survivors. It's like, you'll see, I'm just looking at some of the things on the menu. I have played it for a bit because I played it for like the last week. And they've made a lot of updates. Like, some of these things weren't on here yesterday.
Oh wow! So they're just like constantly going.
So this is something I filmed today, and there's some changes they made that wouldn't be on something if I had done it yesterday. So the game's definitely in flux, like very early access. Well, it's beta or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But as you will see in a moment, it looks very familiar for a reason.
Okay, but for people who haven't played Vampire Survivors, give us a little bit of a rundown here. Now, those menus you showed us, I'm assuming, were the permanent like unlocks for a roguelike?
Yeah, basically those are the unlocks. You get gold and I don't know, whatever the purple stuff is at the top right. And you can spend those on basically upgrades, basically passives and different abilities and stuff. So you'll see he starts off with like a sword slash ability. He also has a dash, but other than that, the Vampire Survivor playstyle is you basically just walk around.
It's kind of like a take on like the shmup in a sense too, right? Cause
are you even controlling when the attacks take place?
No. I don't control anything. I don't control the direction of the attacks, like where they go, when they come out, anything like that. Literally, the only thing I'm doing is pressing up and down and left and right. And at one point, you'll see me turn into a bat. And that's my dodge button, which is shift. So basically, that's all I do.
So every level, you get additional passives to increase attacks and abilities and range and stuff?
Basically. Like, you'll see at the top left, under my experience bar, there's a couple of items.
Yep.
So those items are what I'm picking up. And some of them are passives, like increase crit chance. Some of them will be spells, like you'll notice a Bible's floating around me right now. That does damage when it hits things. And there's various spells you can get as well from it. There's a dodge for this guy.
Ooh, that is a distance.
Yeah. So basically, that's more or less what you do. Like, one of the changes they made recently, or today, was you'll see at the top left there's little white buttons, or like white things below the items. That shows like how many points you have in each skill.
Yeah, you see 2 points in the one, and 1 point in the other.
They didn't even have that yesterday.
Oh,
like basically, you just see all those things, and you wouldn't know how many points you had put into it.
Nice, nice.
So, what is the objective?
So the objective is to survive. Basically, you pick up the blue things, which are experience, which is just for the run. Coins are for buying stuff. Killing bosses, I believe, is the one way that you get the purple stuff. And basically, you just walk around, you try not to get hit by things, and you try and kill things and pick things up.
Yeah, it's a pure survival.
All there is to it.
Is there a trigger for when a boss spawns?
So as far as I can tell in this one, everything is triggered by time. And it looks, as far as I can tell, like enemies just keep coming on from like the outskirts of it. So it's a bit different from Vampire Survivors, which has different sort of types of enemies in the way they act. In this case, you'll kind of notice that every single enemy acts the exact same way.
They're just gonna rush at you.
They basically go towards you. They have a bit of momentum. You'll see they'll like overshoot you a bit if you walk by them. And basically each new wave gets a little tougher and a little faster. And the other thing that happens is sometimes this ring appears. I don't even know if you can kill them in this one, because I don't think I've ever killed one of them. In Vampire Survivors, these things also appear, but you can kill them.
Yeah, I noticed they take damage, but yeah, it might be possible that it's just they're unkillable, right?
Yeah,
So.
I've yet to manage to kill any of them, so I'm not sure of it. So it's one of those games that's pretty addictive. This one is definitely a lot harder than Vampire Survivors from what I've seen.
Okay.
Because Vampire Survivors, the main thing you do is you sort of build up your auto attacks to make it so that there's a field around you where nothing can pass. And usually the only threat is certain enemies that act differently. In this one, at all points of it, you're doing the same thing. You're basically dodging around enemies. Because your attacks come out a lot slower in this one, and enemies move a bit faster in this one, so it's more about dodging things than it is about making a build that can auto-kill everything.
You had to know that as soon as a game like Vampire Survivor came out and was successful, copycats would be on the horizon.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. This isn't the best copycat I've seen, and at the state it is now, it's not like as robust as Vampire Survivors. But I would say that that's probably the biggest difference, is that this one's more about dodging things. And so it does feel a little bit more sort of twitchy and skill-based than Vampire Survivors, I'd say. And you'll also notice that, like, you see, as far as I can tell, you just keep getting more and more upgrades. Whereas Vampire Survivor has a very limited number of items you can pick up.
Yeah, you're like 6 weapons and 6 passives.
So you can see up at the top that, like, you just keep getting more and more and more. So I'm not sure what the limit is. Also, when you get, like, a max in something, it just keeps repeating whatever the final thing is. So, like, I think the final thing for Fireball is, like, plus 20 damage. Every time you get Fireball at that point, it's just more of that.
So you can continue even up.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's a neat thing, too, because it's not, like, maxed like you get in some of the other lookalikes.
Yeah. I haven't had too many complaints that weren't already fixed by today. Like, one of my earliest complaints is that even in, like, a 10-minute run, I'd be getting no gold. Like, I'd be getting, like, 50 gold in a 10-minute run.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's a lot, you get a lot more, and also more treasure chests drop, which chests have, like, extra gold in them, basically. So, it does feel like most of the things that I've identified as bad, they've already taken steps to fix in a very short amount of time. So I do think they're doing a pretty good job at what I assume is listening to everyone that's doing sort of this beta testing and feedback.
I do like the graphics. Like, it's got that Super Nintendo kind of look, maybe just beyond Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
With, like, the sprites and stuff like that, and good use of, like, the lighting and the shadows and stuff. I like it.
It's a little more colorful and sort of vibrant than the other one. It's also more fast-paced. I die a lot earlier than I do in Vampire Survivors as well. So I think it is more or less a more challenging one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not at the moment as interesting in the enemy variety, because as you can tell, like, a new enemy just popped in, those eye things. They're basically the same as the bees, except they move faster. I think pretty soon the first boss is going to pop up. So he acts a little bit differently. He basically just casts AoE spells.
Are bosses randomized, or is it like the first boss will always be the same first boss?
It's always the same one. I don't know if there at some point is some randomization, but in all the runs I've done, every single one of them is the exact same way. The only thing I think might be randomized is where items are on the map. You'll notice I haven't, like, found too many items. That's another thing, is that it doesn't really seem like there's very many items to find. Even healing items, like I think it's
the meat
steaks in
and
this one.
stuff. Yeah.
They're definitely not very frequent, so taking any damage at all is really bad. And as you'll see, it gets harder and harder to dodge things. But yeah, that's the boss. He just keeps dropping that sort of red circle on the ground.
And so you avoid that. Okay, yeah. Cool.
Alright, so I guess the final question is, do we continue after the first opinion?
Oh, 100% I would. I loved Vampire Survivor, and this is more Vampire Survivor, basically, with maybe a little bit more challenge because of the dodging as opposed to just building up power. So I would definitely play this.
The reason that I've never played Vampire Survivor is because I know I would get addicted and not be able to stop. And
yeah, it happens.
In the vein of that question, presuming that I had started, because my attempt is to avoid starting games like this, I know I would continue after the first opinion, because I would always just be like, well, I could just do that one run a little bit better, and let's see what I can unlock for passives, and like, it just has an addictive element to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would definitely keep playing. I probably am going to keep playing for a while after this one. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as addictive as Vampire Survivors was, mostly because there is nothing random about it. So at some point, I think I'll just like grow a little tired of it. But the other thing is, if they add new levels, if they add new bosses, some random stuff, that could definitely make it more addictive than it is now. But as now, I think it's like decent. It's obviously, I would suggest to anyone to play Vampire Survivors first over this one. But so yeah,
Awesome.
All right, live in the real world, playing a pixel one.
Hey, did you like that video? If you did, be sure to let us know by clicking the like button and leaving a comment. If you want to be first in line for any new content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and then hit up our Facebook page. The link's in the description below to see what's coming up next.